A few weeks ago, me, 23 female, and a friend, 24 female, planned to go to an event together. Since we only had free time after work, we decided to get an Uber so we wouldn't take too long to arrive and could enjoy more. The first half of the ride was really normal, seemed like a normal, polite dude. But as soon as we got to the highway, his attitude changed. He seemed a lot more irritated. My friend and I didn't pay much attention though and kept chatting between us. Our attention was drawn when he started shouting with another driver. He turned to us and said he was going to pull over. I tried objecting, but he ignored and pulled over anyway. He reached out for the glove compartment and pulled a gun. Important to note that guns are illegal in my country. We were just watching this unfold with hold breaths, and when the other guy drove away, we let out a sigh of relief. But then, we were still stuck in a car with a crazy man with a gun. After that, he went back to driving and apologized to us, saying that the guy was tailgating him. I let out an "oh, got it." He kept talking. "That guy is lucky that you two girls are here, or else I would have followed him and shoot him in the face. Sleazy idiot." I look over at my friend. She's in shock and paralyzed. I'm in shock too, but trying to keep my cool because the last thing I want to is to get him annoyed at us. If he was willing to shoot that guy for tailgating, I didn't want to know what he would do to us if I said the wrong thing. "No, it's okay. I understand," I say, trying to appease him. "These guys need to be taught a lesson," he continued while I just agreed with my head. "I did that before, you know. You just trap the guy in an empty street, and when he leaves the car, bang." Did he just admit to murder? Was the only thing running through my mind, but I managed to keep calm and just agreed with him the rest of the way. He did deliver us in the right place with no more incidents. I waited a few weeks to report, since he had my home address and wouldn't be hard to figure out who reported him. Nobody showed up in my home with a gun, at least until now, and Uber has answered my report saying that they started an investigation. Hope this guy doesn't do this to anyone else. I've worked in restaurants for almost 10 years, and I'm accustomed to getting out late. One night, after finishing a double shift at a ramen spot, I had my usual beer and decided to Uber home. My Uber arrived, checked the plate and all, and the gentleman confirmed my name. I spent half of the ride almost dozing off. As the ride progressed, I noticed the driver kept staring at me through the mirror. Never said a single word, no expression, just a blank stare. I figured exhaustion and the beer had gotten the best of me, and he was probably staring because he thought I was drunk. Later on, I also noticed that he had taken a different highway and that we were making our way through Rikers Island. It was a route I wasn't accustomed to, but he had his ways open and I figured he was trying to take some sort of shortcut. We kept getting further into Rikers Island, and the area had become full of trees and construction machines, neon cones, and cracked cement. He came to a sudden stop. "My car just broke. Get out and call the new Uber." I was confused. There hadn't been any indication that a tire had popped / it had run out of gas, etc. I got out, and before I asked anything, he stepped on the gas and sped off, car perfectly fine. Alone by a construction zone, I started freaking out and called another Uber. When he arrived, his first question was why I was in the middle of nowhere, especially so late, 1 a.m. at this point. Told him about the other Uber, and he urged me to report it. Reported it, checked the profile for 0.8 stars, same license plate, but it was not the same man in the picture. The report never really got anywhere. I can't help but feel I encountered a possible murderer or rapist. Since no one's story is long enough, I'm gonna just include several experiences I had while delivering pizza for a popular pizza chain a long time ago. I live in a small rural town in the southeast, US, and it has the usual suburban developments as well as some more outlying countries/rural areas. When I was younger, just as I'd moved out on my own, I worked as a pizza delivery guy. These are some of the creepy encounters I had during this time. The orgy. One afternoon, I got a delivery order for an area of town I rarely, if ever, visited. It was on the east side of town, which was very run down and poor. An old textile mill used to employ many in that area, but had been closed for some time and been overrun with kudzu and had begun falling apart. The houses around this area often had failing foundations or were very old, rusty trailer homes. This particular order was to one of the trailer homes. I knocked, and no one answered. I tried again for several minutes, as I could hear music coming from the inside, and I figured maybe they couldn't hear me. When they finally opened the door, it was a skinny dude with no shirt on, and he asked me to step inside. When I walked in, there was a lady behind him who was wearing a robe, and another, sketchy couple standing at the back of the room. They had a boombox playing loud country music. These people were high and drunk, which I was used to, but this place was buzzing with crazy. All of them were at least 10 years older than me, and as I set the pizza down and waited for payment, they started making sexual comments regarding my body. Whenever one would say something, another would encourage them to continue. Eventually, the guy who opened the door walked over to me, and the lady behind him said, "Go ahead and pay the man." He handed me the cash and put his free hand on my arm, and in a hot breath full of natural light, he whispered in my ear and asked, "We're all about to have sex. You want to join us?" I said, "No, thanks," and made a beeline for the door. The creeper. I got 2 orders for the same area of town I mentioned above. One was a 20-pie order for a church fellowship hall, and the other a single pie for a residence. I dropped the pies for the church off first, then headed over to the last customer. When I arrived, I immediately noticed the house looked off-putting, dark and dirty. I was like, please let this be the wrong house. But it wasn't. There was a creepy, old, naked doll on the porch, and an empty bird cage hung from one of the trees in the side yard. I got out, grabbed the pizza, and slowly walked up to the house. I tried the doorbell, which was glowing, so I figured it worked. No one answered, so I tried knocking. Again, nothing. Eventually I got creeped out, so I started walking back to my car. Halfway to my car, I heard pissed, and turned around to see an old man with wild and unkempt hair literally peeking his head out from the back of the house. It was getting dark out, and my patience was draining, so I was not in the mood for someone playing games. I simply said, "Did you order this pizza?" and waited for him to answer, but he ducked back out of sight. I started to just turn to leave, but then he peeked out again. I said, "Sir, is this your pizza or not?" And finally he emerges. He walks up to me carrying a shovel, of all things. He said, "Yeah man, sorry, I'm just messing, don't mean anything by it," to which I just responded with the total and held the pizza out. Luckily, that was the end of the transaction, and I was able to get out of there. I worked the same job for a few years, and had plenty more weird experiences, but then moved on to find something better and safer. If you work delivering items to people at their homes, stay safe. And never go inside their house.